Survival of the fittest. Species better adapted to their environment live on, while others perish. Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 2.
Credits to Wet Socks for making this iceberg, and to my girlfriend for helping me with the script. Tier 1, The Roof. Now I know most of these you'll know, so I'll make this first tier relatively short. PopCap. PopCap is a company that makes Plants vs Zombies and other games like Peggle that my girlfriend has 80 hours on. I don't know why she put this in there, but she really wants it to be known. And other games like Bejeweled and Zuma. They were bought out by EA in July of 2011, and their most recent game was Plants vs Zombies Battle for Neighborville, made in 2019. They have technically released Plants vs Zombies 3, but it was a really weird soft launch where only, I believe, 4 countries can play it, so I'm still counting Battle for Neighborville being their most recent game. EA. This entry's pretty simple. I feel like everyone knows EA. It's a company that, well, now owns PopCap, but also has a pretty bad reputation for recent years. From microtransactions to really bad launchers and Sims DLCs costing the price of a mortgage, this company has made some pretty questionable decisions. If you know about Battlefront 2, well, or Plants vs Zombies. I mean, you clicked on this video because you probably know what it is. If you don't, I am shocked, but, you know, just a tower defense game made in 2009, happens to be an absolute banger of a game. Just plants shoot at zombies, don't let your, you know, brains get eaten out. And, well, that's about it. It's a pretty easy entry. Plants vs Zombies 2. Plants vs Zombies 2 is the sequel to Plants vs Zombies. It's pretty well liked aside from questionable microtransactions, such as certain characters like the Chomper and Snow Pea being locked behind a paywall. It's really shitty, you know, but EA bought them out, so it makes sense, I guess. It is a very good game though. It has a lot more levels, zombies, and plants than the first. Just really annoying about the whole pay for plant situation. They introduced some newer plants that are pretty iconic to the franchise now, such as the Bloomerang, Bonk Choy, and Snapdragon. There unfortunately wasn't a PC port for this game, so you have to play it on some sort of emulator or just on your phone. And if there was a PC port, probably be on Origin, so I'm not sure if people would like that too much. The whole game is centered around time travel, so you go to different eras like ancient Egypt, pirates, cowboys, nomad eras. It's pretty weird. Good game though. My girlfriend's been addicted to it for the past few weeks, and it's just more Plants vs Zombies. Can't really go wrong with it, except EA sort of did, but you know. Plants vs Zombies 3. Plants vs Zombies 3 is the, as of now, soft-launched third mainline game in the series. It recently launched into 4 different countries and has had an alpha and beta available for few people for the past few years. So far, it looks like the game has more story, but there's been some pretty mixed impressions on how the whole game kind of flows and there possibly being an energy mechanic. I really hope it's not as bad as I'm thinking it is, but if it is, I don't know where this franchise is gonna go. Style is really cool though, and they've introduced some new zombies that people have been wanting for a while now that'll be mentioned in later entries. Garden Warfare. Garden Warfare is my favorite game in the entire franchise. This game is just amazing. Garden Warfare is a third-person shooter spin-off game that launched in February of 2014 for the Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS4, and PC. I personally remember logging hundreds of hours into this game, and sure, there were microtransactions, but it was nothing that you couldn't earn in the game, and it wasn't that grindy either. Unlike some other EA games, Battlefront 2, this stuff you could get pretty quickly. You could pay real money for some cosmetics and whatnot, but it really didn't matter. In this game, you could play from a different selection of plants and zombies. So there were different classes, such as the pea shooter and soldier being the attack class, and sunflower and scientist being the healers. There were different modes, such as Team Vanquish, which was pretty much just team deathmatch, Garden Ops, which was defending through 10 waves, defending this little garden. It was pretty much like zombies in any COD game, but, a bit different because it was Plants vs Zombies. And Suburbanation, which was basically domination or conquest, if you've played those in any other games. In this game, you could also spawn little plants and pots or zombie minions to help you in the different multiplayer modes or single player. All of these would be ones that you couldn't play as, so like the brown coat or maybe repeater pea shooter from the games. You couldn't play as those as actual classes, so they made those, say for the plants, so they could just sit in a pot and defend from the zombies or zombies to go out and attack. Laura Shigihara. Laura Shigihara is the composer for the soundtrack of Plants vs. Zombies. She made some really good songs like Loon Bloom, Moongrain, Zombie on Your Lawn. I mean, the entire soundtrack is just so good for these games. There's not a whole lot to say for this entry, but she did also work on some songs for Deltarune, Super Meat Boy, and some Minecraft fan songs. George Fan. George Fan was the designer and creative director for Plants vs. Zombies. He doesn't work for the series anymore, but he is working on his own game that looks to be a cute platformer called Hard Hat Wombat. A lot of fans of Plants vs. Zombies consider this guy basically the founder of the franchise, and well, he just made mine and a lot of other people's childhoods. Dr. Zomboss. Dr. Zomboss is the leader of the zombies. His first appearance was in the first game as the final boss, and has since been in every Plants vs. Zombies game. If you've played Garden Warfare or Battle for Neighborville, you'd get used to him saying a whole lot of random stuff popping up at the top of your screen. And he has a pretty weird voice like our next topic. Crazy Dave is the first character you see in Plants vs. Zombies. If you've played any of the games, you'll know this guy. He talks in a language that no one but the chat bubble can understand, and he loves tacos. He loves tacos so much that in the second game, he decides to travel back in time so he can eat his taco again. Pretty weird but sick guy, and essential for the entire franchise. Started out with just you defending his house with different plants to now he's got a manor in Battle for Neighborville. Luigi Fan 00001 and plush videos. These two are combined because they're very similar. So Luigi Fan is a YouTuber who's been making Plants vs. Zombies plush videos mainly for kids since 2011. He's become a super iconic part of the fan base and made the whole market of plushies for Plants vs. Zombies very big. Most of these videos would consist of kind of gibberish or, pretty childlike humor, but they're genuinely pretty funny, and he's carried a big part of the franchise. The Tree of Wisdom. The Tree of Wisdom is a tree that after beating adventure mode in the first game, you could grow and he would give you certain tips and cheats the taller he gets. He's the backbone of Plants vs. Zombies post-game. Personally, I never got to this stage of the game, but it looks pretty sick. Pots and Bots. Pots and Bots is a game mode in Garden Warfare 2 where you could play as the normally unplayable bots or plants from the different bots that you would place as the zombies or plants, and you would just fight each other. It's one of the most unique modes that the Plants vs. Zombies franchise has, and I hope in the future they have some more modes like this. Zen Garden. The Zen Garden is a garden in the Plants vs. Zombies games where you can farm and sell different plants you've grown. In Plants vs. Zombies 2, you could get certain boosts to where every time you would plant one, it would activate that one's super ability. Like for the sunflower, if you planted it after getting its boost, it would immediately throw out X amount of sun. I believe it was 3. It's pretty broken. It's not, I wouldn't say it's broken, it's hard to get. You just have to wait a lot of time, but when you use it, it's extremely good. Selling the plants that you don't use as boosts, you could use to buy either new plants or power-ups. It was a big part of post-game Plants vs. Zombies 1 and a big part of just progression in Plants vs. Zombies 2. Game of the Year Edition. Plants vs. Zombies Game of the Year Edition is the Steam version of the game for PC. Even though it's not the original version of the game, there's zero difference to it, aside from this version of the game actually having a modding scene and that it's just on Steam. Otherwise, gameplay mechanic-wise, content, there's nothing different. Little cut in here, there was something different. You could customize a zombie to look however you wanted them to look. Not a big thing, didn't affect gameplay at all. Giddy Park. Giddy Park is the hub for the Battle for Neighborville game. Since I personally haven't played this game yet, all I could find is from stuff I've looked up, so I don't know if there's many secrets that I'm missing out or what. In this lobby type world, you could find different treasure chests and do different activities and riding rides, bounties. There's a whole bunch of content that you could do outside of just the multiplayer or single player aspect of the game. There was one puzzle that seems to be everywhere when I looked this place up, called the Gnome Puzzle. The Gnome Puzzle is different for every session of the lobby, meaning there's no clear solution aside from finding these different slabs and emoting on them. Once completed, you'd get the gnomish spot costume for the nightcap. Pretty sick hub world from what I can tell, generally similar to the one from Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 2. Backyard Battleground. Backyard Battleground is the hub for Garden Warfare 2, where you could find different Easter eggs, different treasure chests, fight minion versions of zombies, travel to multiplayer, do missions. It was a fun place to mess around. It was nothing too crazy. There was a nice sewer system, little town on the outskirts. Just a nice hub for going to the different parts of the game. Sticker packs. Sticker packs are the way of progression in Garden Warfare games. You could get different zombies or plants that were from the actual mainline games, but you couldn't play as them, to plant and have them help you for whatever mission or multiplayer match that you're doing. And you could also get cosmetics from them, some of which would actually change how you could play. Some including, like, they had a Chester Chomper, which was a Cheeto collab on Garden Warfare 2. Very weird collab that I didn't understand too much, but it was sick. It also had things like the Plasma Cactus, where it was more of a charge up shot, but it wasn't too broken if someone had one of these other skins versus the vanilla, say, cactus instead of Plasma Cactus. You could also unlock different hats and smaller customizations for the playable characters. They weren't too bad to earn. You could buy them with real money, but again, none of them were really game breaking. It was more just cosmetic. Spadow, Powi, and Doom are the different comic style pop-ups for when something explodes in the Plants vs Zombies franchise. Not too much for this entry, it's just what happens when something explodes. That's about it. Is the absolute banger made by Laura Shigihara. Not too much to this entry aside from it being probably my favorite song in the entire soundtrack. I mean, just listen to it for a second. It's just a really, really good song. Power Mints. Power Mints were just different power-ups you could get in Plants vs Zombies 2. It would do different things to the game. They were pretty helpful. There's not too much I could find on them. I didn't use them too much. Just another part of the gameplay of Plants vs Zombies 2. Battle for Neighborville. Battle for Neighborville is the sort of third Garden Warfare game. It's the closest thing we've gotten to a Garden Warfare 3 so far, and since I've played at this point very little of it, I personally can't say if it's really too good or not. I'll say some of the animations are a bit goofy, and it is weird adjusting to actually having a sprint in this game. But from what I could tell, it's basically Garden Warfare 2, add a few classes, make it a bit more chaotic. It's that. From what I've heard, a lot of people still prefer Garden Warfare 2 way more, and I would agree, but that's just because I've played so much of it. This is basically just third Garden Warfare game. People don't like it as much. That's about it. Girl brown coats. It looks like fans have maybe wanted girl brown coats in the game for a while now, and well, in Plants vs Zombies 3, it's shown that there's girl zombies now, girl brown coats. Not too much to point out for this, aside from seeing a Reddit post about it a while back, saying that they have a skirt and scarf that I didn't notice. That's about it. Since Plants vs Zombies 3 hasn't fully launched yet, it seems like people don't know about them too much yet. Zack Scott Games. Zack Scott Games was and still is a massive part of the Plants vs Zombies YouTube scene. This guy is up to episode 1145, and he has recently been doing videos on Plants vs Zombies 3. For someone who doesn't live in one of the regions where Plants vs Zombies 3 is released yet, this guy is basically my only source of Plants vs Zombies 3 gameplay. Wolfy Plays. Wolfy Plays, from what I could tell, just seems to be another big Plants vs Zombies YouTuber. They've done a series on a Plants vs Zombies 2 mod called Plants vs Zombies 2 Flourished. From what I could tell, it's just Plants vs Zombies 2, but with more levels on top of every world and another 2 worlds. From what I could see, he hasn't done a crazy amount of Plants vs Zombies content like Zack has, but he does seem to be pretty big into the scene. Plants vs Zombies mods and ROM hacks. Plants vs Zombies has quite a weird history with mods and ROM hacks. Some mods are just texture packs, like adding troll faces to every character in the game, and some of them completely remaster or remake the game and add expansion-sized content to it, such as the Plants vs Zombies expansion mod, filling in the game with new levels, zombies, plants, and gameplay mechanics. It's crazy to see how good some of these mods are and why the troll face one is on the front page of the modding site. But it's a pretty active modding community and I would recommend checking it out. Premium plants. Premium plants are the paid plants I was talking about earlier in the EA topic. To me, I understand that EA needs to make money, right? But just charge for the game. There's so many plants that you need to pay for. And I would understand, like, the new ones, okay, it sucks that you have to pay for them. That's fine. But the snow pea, cactus, and chomper are all locked behind a paywall. Those 3 are a extremely big part of the franchise. They were all in the first game, like they are iconic, and you have to pay $3 to $5 for them. I think this is where the franchise started going downhill, and I would think a lot of people agree with me. Hashtag Save Garden Warfare 2. I wasn't too aware of this movement when it was going on, but due to the outrage over servers and exploiters in Garden Warfare 2, the subreddit for it launched a hashtag Save Garden Warfare 2 campaign, backed by several YouTubers like Mr. JT, Vile Hyperion, and LT Dark Ring. They seem to help bring this game back to some of its former glory. With how bad everything was online, the game was practically dead, and now I can actually go into servers and find players, so this whole movement seems to have been pretty good. It maybe didn't meet the expectations they were hoping for, but it certainly brought a lot of people back into the franchise. Bloom and Doom Seed Co. Bloom and Doom Seed Company is, well, for this tier list, it seems like the first one that's not extremely surface level. It's the company that makes all of the seed packets you use in the different Plants vs Zombies games. It's apparent that Bloom and Doom Seed Company also specializes in non-plants, such as the flower pot, spike rock, and mushrooms that do not grow from seeds. In the Plants vs Zombies official guidebook, it stated that the company was founded in 1968. So how early on people started protecting themselves with Plants vs Zombies? Oh, Plants vs Zombies reference. That seems to be unclear, but it does seem a lot further back than people were expecting. Plants vs Zombies also had many concept names for what it was going to be called, one of them being Zombotany, and just like Zombotany, Bloom and Doom was going to be one of the original names for the first game before it released. And this concludes the first part of 5 of the Plants vs Zombies Iceberg. Hope you guys are liking this style of video, and I will see you in the next part.